Listen, Scott, I'm guessing being a mayor of a growing town, you got many people from not only other parts of the province, but probably quite frankly from around the world want to come and share, must have a lot of different challenges in terms of housing. So I'm guessing your experience as a mayor has given you a great perspective on your role as the critic for housing.
It sure has, Dean, and of course, before I was mayor, I chaired the planning committee, and of course, we were dealing with all those vested interests of people that don't want to see too much change in their community, and so I've been dealing with this really my entire adult life, and so the role of housing federally is it's the right one for me because I understand the issues, I understand the problems that we face.
That's great. Let's show a clip from the House of Commons. We got Pierre talking about housing with the Prime Minister.
His $80 billion of programs are not working. They have led to a doubling in the cost of an average down payment, double the necessary monthly mortgage payment, and a 120% increase in the average rent. This is way out of line with what is happening in other countries. Meanwhile, he continues to drive up interest rates on mortgages with his deficits and give money to local bureaucracies to block home building. Will he get off the backs and out of the way of Canadians so that they can finally afford a home?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Not only would the Conservative leader cut programs that are helping Canadians in what is, yes, a difficult housing market, but he's choosing to pick fights with municipalities when we should be working with them, as we are doing, to increase densification, to accelerate permitting, to change zoning, to make sure that we're tying infrastructure investments like transit investments that we're making at record numbers to concentrations of housing and increasing housing stock. We know we need to continue to deliver more housing supply, and we're working with municipalities and provinces.
Scott, let's talk about some of the macro challenges that are out there right now. I know there's a ton. We got a shortage of trades. You talked about in your campaign about money laundering in larger cities, which we all know. Why don't we just touch on some of the macro concerns before we dig into some of the thoughts from that clip?
Yeah, well, this housing crisis that we're in starts really 45, 50 years ago when the Trudeau government, the first Trudeau government, decided that they were going to stop what's called the capital cost allowance. It was an incentive for the private sector to build rental units specifically. And they said, well, we're going to stop that because we think that that's not a good way to do things. We're going to get into social housing. And so the government was going to build all the housing. Well, then, of course, the downturn hit. The global economy got sour, and then those things started to get cut. And so the private sector looked for other ways to invest, and they looked at other things like condos. And of course, we've seen a huge proliferation of condos. But now, of course, we see the same kind of patterns happening all over again, where you've got a Trudeau government again that thinks that they can spend their way out of any problem. And in fact, what they're doing with their massive deficits and debt is driving up interest rates, to counter the effect of inflation, and it's making everything more expensive. And they think that every nickel they borrow is going to help solve the problem, but it's actually making it worse and worse and worse.
So we got about a minute left in this segment. Let's talk about the inflation, and we talk about. I know you've raised it, Pierre's raised it. The reality is that things become a lot more expensive to build. And that's part of the issue.
It's a big part of the issue, and of course. You add that issue with, like everything from a 2x4 costs more money now. You add that now with this government's response to, our economy, making sure that we have enough Canadians to keep our economy growing. Our immigration numbers higher than they have ever been. And they're not focusing our immigration system on the people with the skills, the abilities to help us build the homes that we need. And so that's just exacerbating the situation. It's like they have all the right talking points. They say the right things, and they think that somehow that's going to fix the problem. But in reality, it's pretty obvious they have no idea what they're doing. And you saw me in that clip nodding very approvingly when Pierre was talking, because he gets this. He gets this really, really well. And he knows that we have to rein in government spending and clean up the mess in Ottawa. We're never going to fix the problem.
Let's go to break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the local issues that we have to deal with as well when we come back from break.